Welcome back to part 2 of our table saw build project. In part 1, we built the lift mechanism and the tilt trunnions for our DIY table saw. In part 2, we built the saw cabinet, installed the lift, and developed the tilt controls. So let's get started. Our table saw base is a modified version of a DIY table saw build by John Hayes. I'll link his video in the doobly-doo down below. I used the SketchUp web app to design my cabinet. If you're interested in having these drawings, leave a comment down below. I used my DIY track saw to cut the panels for the base cabinet. Check out my build video if you'd like to make one of your own. Special thanks to longtime supporter Silky Smooth for his donation of the plywood we're using for the cabinet build. If you're enjoying this series, then make sure you click the like button. If you think I've earned it, then also please subscribe to the channel. Over at the miter saw, I cut down some 2x4s for the internal corners of the base. Sorry, still getting the hang of camera angles. I did run into an issue when ripping the 2x4s on the table saw. The kerf kept closing on me during the cut. I got around this by using wedges behind the blade. Unfortunately, I forgot to record that angle. Assembly of the base starts with attaching some corner cleats that will give the cabinet some much needed rigidity. I mean, it's a saw. To get them in the right place, I am using my combination square and measuring in the width of the plywood being used for the box. In this case, I'm using 1/2-inch plywood, which measures an actual 15/32 of an inch, and then I'm holding it together with glue, 1¼ brads, and 1¼ screws. After we get the cabinet roughed together, I use some 1x4 around the bottom to ensure that it is flat, as well as some extra durability. With the base of the cabinet fully assembled, it's time to measure for the placement of the trunnions, as well as marking out for the cutouts for the lift and tilt handles. When marking the arcs for the cutouts, it's imperative that you center the radius from where the top of your table will be. To do that, I'm using a riser block so that I can account for the table thickness. By doing this, you'll ensure that your blade will have little to no lateral movement when tilting the blade from 90 degrees. I made this bar compass using scrap piece of maple. At one end is a pencil, and then I'm using a small nail for the pivot point. After laying out the arcs, I use a Forstner bit to drill out the ends, and the jigsaw to cut out the slot. The next step is finally mounting the trunnions to the cabinet. I used 1¼ countersunk screws to mount the trunnions and then proceeded to drop the lift mechanism into the trunnions. Of course, when I did that, my camera decided it was time to take a break, so there isn't any footage of that. I then installed the backer plates under the eventual positions of the miter slots. The backers will give some added support under the miter slots to help to strengthen the tabletop under the cutouts for those slots. Next is time to work out the tilt control handle. I could have done this a couple of ways, but decided on the easiest option of a friction lock handle. The slot for this handle is cut the same way that we did for the lift handle. I made the handle out of a block of wood and some 1/2-inch threaded rod epoxied into the outer handle, and then drilled through the mounting block, which is mounted to the underside of the lift carriage inside the cabinet. I hope you've enjoyed part 2 of our DIY table saw build. In part 3, we will install the tabletop and apply all of the finishing touches. Thanks for watching.